How's your schnapps?
Dr. Pepper. This stuff is so gross.
Why are you drinking it?
Because it was $10.
You're just committing to it? Can I smell it? It smells like toothpaste. You're drinking something worse than mouthwash right now.
I disagree. Watch me not flinch as I take a sip.
I mean, it would be gross to put mouthwash in Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Bob.
Dr. Bob, I'm so sorry.
Dr. Pepper wasn't on sale, so I got the
There's
generic
no Dr. Pepper
Dr.
here.
Bob. There's no pepper here. Only Bob.
There is no pepper, only Bob. Hello, BookTube. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Rebecca.
And today we are talking about our Novembers.
The whole November.
The whole November.
Whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about what books we read and what books we didn't read. And we'll also talk a little bit about NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, and what novels we wrote or didn't write. Right. I wrote some really good parts of novels.
There's like a salvageable little bit.
At the beginning of November, we both set out to do NaNoWriMo, and I set out to write a time-traveling romance, and you set out to write
YA urban fantasy.
Yeah, I think both of us had like some really cool like.
We got solid ideas.
Ideas, yeah.
It's just like putting it out on the. I don't know words. See, this is why I can't write novels.
You've written some novels before.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many novels have you like finished?
4. Good novels, 0.
Yeah.
One day.
I've written several, like, not several, but a few half novels. And
partial novels.
Yeah. But this month in particular, I think I kind of failed on 2 accounts. I failed at plotting and I failed at writing. Like, I had all of my good ideas. I knew where it was going to go and how it was going to end. I hadn't even picked out all of my characters, but I knew enough. And November was here, and I just wanted to start. I didn't want to put it off, so I just went in anyway. I think I would have been stronger if I just said, you know what, I'm not going to start for, a week in or something, and just really put a week in of plotting.
You have the plot now, though, right?
Pretty much. As I began writing the story, I realized that the changes I made the whole thing a little more comedic. It's not like roll on the floor kind of funny.
Not a lot of books are. Like, even comedy books are. It's different.
They're like witty. But it came out a little bit more like that, or at least one hopes.
I've like straight up laughed at a lot of my writing, and then I'm like, well, just
I have a couple
think
lines that I'll go back and be like, that's so good. Like, I'm so clever.
So fucking
that was
funny.
Great. But if I really think about it, I'm like, this is not an original idea.
What is? Who cares? Mine's not either. Mine literally like is a novel that is out right now.
I think your novel is going to be pretty different, though.
The core concept is so similar that it's just like.
So do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I started this novel, I started planning it a little while back. I wanted girls and women to be able to start fires and what became of the world after that. And then a friend of mine read a book called The Power, and in that book, girls and women around the world can electrocute people. And it was like, it always sucks when that happens, when like such an idea comes out. But it's very different, The Power. It also follows a lot of women worldwide and a lot of girls around the world and how it affects.
Yours doesn't.
No. That book's much smarter than mine. My book is more like, I just wanted an excuse to burn a bunch of dudes.
That's okay. And I think a lot of people could relate, especially to the past several months going on in Hollywood. And there are just things this past year that have really been very harsh, like, socially on a large scale. And sometimes you just need to, I mean, as artists, and I do think both of us are artists, even if we're unpublished and we fail at writing novels, we still take our thoughts and our feelings and we express them in an art form. It could be a shitty one that doesn't make it not art. When all this stuff is going on in the world, I think people like you and I, we need a certain space to express that. My novel was not nearly as therapeutic as yours.
It has been therapeutic to write.
Yeah. Mine was more stemmed from a lot of the romance I've read in the past couple years.
I mean, I think that a lot of people write for that reason, where they read something and they're like,
I want better.
This aspect of it, I want done differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I really wanted to write a novel where women aren't punished for being angry. Like, that was an important aspect for me.
Yeah. I'm also kind of taking the delays in November, and I'm kind of just saying I'm going to write on into December. I'm not giving up, and I don't want to consider this a failure in that regard. I'm just a little late.
So. I feel like I'm basically drinking a candy cane at this point.
Yeah, I'm not going to try that. You can go with your peppermint Dr. Bob.
Dr. Peppermint. Dr. Peppermint Bob.
Dr. Pepper Bob. So, tell me about some of the stuff you read this month, and was any of it related to your writing?
I wanted to pick books that featured badass ladies, really is what I was getting at. The first book, I had a good, I picked really good books this month. I read 6 books this month. I liked all of them, which is really cool. I also tried to catch up on, my 2017 releases, so a lot of these were newer books. Although the first book I read was Not Your Sidekick by C.B. Lee, which came out a year or 2 ago. The protagonist is bisexual, which is cool, and she lives in a world where superheroes are common, and her parents are really popular superheroes, but she doesn't display any superpowers. So she decides to get an internship at this big company, and then finds out that she's actually working for her parents' nemesis. Oh. It's really fun, and the love interest was so cute, and the little love story was adorable. The next 3 books I read, I didn't write them.
So I wrote 3 books and then
read them. I'm so fucking good. I read them for Borrow-a-thon, which I love Borrow-a-thon. You just read borrowed books, so I went to the library. I didn't think I was going to do it because of NaNoWriMo, but then I was like, fuck it, and I went to the library. And the first one I picked up was Wires and Nerves by Marissa Meyer, which she wrote the Lunar Chronicles, which I talked about a little bit.
Okay.
And Wires and Nerves is a graphic novel. It was cute. It was not my favorite. This one it had all the characters that you'd grown to know and love from this 4-book series.
Oh.
And seeing an illustration of them actually wasn't for me.
That's weird.
The next book I got was Geekerella, which is a nerdy retelling of Cinderella, which was super cute.
I couldn't tell from the title.
I know. There's an interracial relationship as the main couple, and they're so fucking cute, and it was I had a lot to do with cosplay and going to cons, and they referenced League of Legends, which is really exciting.
God. That's weird.
I know. Deep. I was by the way, second book I read this month also referenced League of Legends. What? Fucking 2 books weird. This month. The third book I read for Borrow-a-thon was Moxie, which is being talked about. I got really into Moxie, and it's about a girl from a small town in Texas discovering feminism, basically. And I just really loved it, and seeing women come together and girls come together, and really putting a good name to the word feminism. What's really important.
So I read a couple romance books, and what I read was a few more Stacey Reid books. They were just fine. They're fluffy and fun. I would say if you're gonna read one of her books, read the Wedded by Scandal series, because that was kind of fun. And with romance, if I like something, I'm happier if it's a series, because the authors respecting their series will frequently, if they left out a trope you don't like, they're probably not going to add it in. I would recommend that series. It's just a fluffy, fun thing. So I read a few more of those. Other than that, this month, I didn't actually read a lot of full books. I did read a lot of poetry, which poetry is something I always read, but it's something I go back to always, especially when I'm writing, because I find it very thought-provoking and emotional. I have read a bunch of just various poetry. I was reading some Keats just for fun, and some Langston Hughes, which I always kind of forget about Langston Hughes. He writes a lot about what it's like being black in America. Some of it's very, very intense, and you like to think that that's very different from the 20s when he wrote it, but in a lot of ways it's easy to imagine that it's not. Anyway, that's all I read. What else did you read?
Warcross by Marie Lu, which is been getting a lot of hype because it just came out recently. That one is the other one that also had a League of Legends reference. Oh. And it's about a hacker who
That's the one with the cool cover with the weird title.
With the rainbow.
It's 3D rainbows.
It was super fun. It was just such a fun book, and it's about video games, and you don't get a lot of books about gaming.
Yeah. And
it was very clear that the author was also into gaming.
I don't read many that are written by women, and I don't read many that have female main characters. So
yeah, and she was badass. I really liked the main character. I was reading the acknowledgments at the end, and I just I had such a blast, and I liked seeing these women playing video games and everything. And you know, being celebrated for it. And at the end of her acknowledgments, she said that it was for all the gamer girls in the world. And I was just like, thank you.
This is for
I'm one of those.
I like playing League with you.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best. That's like if we can play together, you know, get the
We usually
husbands
drink
involved.
and-
Yeah.
We play against the boss.
I know the last time that didn't go so well.
The last time that happened, I spilled wine on my laptop. And it's gonna cost $800 to fix.
The last time it was just an $800 time.
I, like, play that moment back in my head so many times. Just being like, what can I
feel
do
so bad
differently?
because, like, I play that moment back. You, like, texted me and you're like, hey, I'm drinking wine, want to play League with me? Before I responded, I was like, what am I doing? Let me go get wine. And as I was, like, going downstairs to get a glass of wine, I was like, I'm going to play League with Rebecca, gonna get some wine. And then as I was, like, going to get wine, you were like, oh my god, I've never felt worse in my life.
I was like sobbing probably when I messaged you.
Sure.
Like, I was crying for hours.
The fact that I was just, like, messaging you in the middle of such a difficult time.
I had one more book that I read.
Oh, yeah, tell me what else you read.
The last book I read was called Dress Codes for Small Towns. It's definitely like
Makes
a
you
very
think.
small town, Alabama, and the protagonist is kind of tomboyish. I don't like using that word. She isn't either. But it's about her and her group of friends, which are mostly guys, but there's also a girl, and like, kind of, they're not sure who's crushing on who, and all of this stuff, and it's very interesting. There's a little bit about, like, trying to figure out your sexuality as a teenager, and how confusing that can be, especially for her, because, like, everyone told her she's a lesbian because of the way she dresses, and she was so, like, adamant about saying, like, no, I'm not a lesbian. And then she has this moment of like, well, maybe I do like girls. But she was so busy, like, saying that she didn't because it was just the way she dressed.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, and I did like the characters, which is, like, number one for me if I like the characters. I think I didn't feel satisfied with the end, I guess, is how I felt about it. So, yeah. But it was still good.
So, of the books that you read this month, what do you think was your favorite? Or which one would you recommend the most?
It depends on what you like. Geekarella was, like, if you are into the nerd culture, that and Warcross were just so immersed in that.
Yeah.
Geekarella is more of a quicker read, and it has more romance, which is fun. Whereas Marie Lu, if you've ever read her, you know that, like, her romances are going to be painful, and in this case it was.
That was our November.
That was our November. That's why we were kind of quiet in November.
Yeah, so if you're
BookTube.
wondering why we didn't have a lot of videos, it was because we were desperately trying to write and desperately trying to read, and kind of failing a little bit at both of them.
Yeah.
And then also failing at our channel.
What's the deal with November?
What's the deal with November? What's the deal with the Seinfeld jokes? Can you do the, like, you know, in Seinfeld, after, like, a joke or a scene, they do, like, a...
We've already tried to do this in
I
another
know,
video. We
have
failed
we?
it. Yeah. It was one of those, right?
Yeah.
Seinfeld experts.
So that was our November. We failed at a lot of things, but that's life. And sometimes you have to fail to know how to succeed.
Life advice from Sarah.
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers, BookTube.
Spilled that all over my titties.
Oh, yeah. Like that you just dip your shirt.
What am I supposed to do?
I don't know.